Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. And you know what? This was a really, really exciting game. We got the debut of the City Edition uniforms along with the courts that people are calling creamsicle down in the comments. Honestly, I loved that court. I love the jerseys. They look a lot better in person once you actually see them up close. Trust me on that. It was a phenomenal game. Not all of it was pretty, but that second half was absolutely brilliant. Honestly, there's no other place to start this than with Donovan Mitchell. This motherfucker was just cooking everybody in sight on his way to 37 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and was a highly efficient 14 of 22 from the field, including 4 of 8 from deep. Now, Spida hasn't been the most efficient as of late, especially from three-point distance, so this was a nice return to form for him. 37 points in a game where it felt like they needed every single ounce of what he brought to the table early on to keep this team in it. It was huge. It was honestly huge because that first half was a doozy. Milwaukee got off to an 11-2 start. Giannis scoring or assisted on all of those points. Honestly, he was scoring or assisted on, I think, every single point they had in the first quarter. The Cavs would get back into it on the back of Spida, who would score 14 in the first quarter alone. He went in the first half with 25 big points on 10 of 23 from the field. Dude was absolutely just cooking everything in sight. There was no stopping him on his way to the basket or from beyond the arc as he would hit numerous step backs. It was just beautiful basketball that he was playing. His signature moves out there. They were getting the ball to Jarrett Allen early and often in the post tonight. I love that shit, right? Because we keep talking about how there wasn't as much involvement from Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley, especially in regard to paint touches, but they were making a really big effort, at least early on in this game, to get the ball to the Cavs bigs. And there was one sequence in particular that stood out to me. You guys already know what I'm about to say. And this is a guy that we're going to talk about a lot tonight, later on down the line, and that's Lonzo Ball. I watched Lonzo bring the ball up the court, fake a triple, and he throws a lob pass to only where Allen could get it, resulting in a foul call and Allen getting to the line. It's little things like that. With Lonzo, we just know he's not really a huge driver of the basketball, but when he can get the guys the ball on such just high quality playmaking and passing like that, where it's just unorthodox, it's beautiful to watch. As I mentioned, we will discuss Lonzo Ball in depth a little bit later on, but in the early going of this game, they absolutely needed those types of sequences to occur because Giannis and company were giving it to them. Thomas Bryant and Naquan Tomlin appear to have taken Larry Nance Jr.'s spot in the rotation as of right now. I have to at least mention that. You guys know I'm still a huge fan of Larry Nance Jr. I don't know if this was a singular game thing, but if the last few games have been any indication, his minutes were declining. He was visibly frustrated in the last one. And so Bryant and Tomlin brought much, much needed energy and effort out there, especially Bryant, who was key in trying to contain Giannis early on. And speaking of Giannis, he would leave midway through the second quarter with an apparent groin injury. He had 14 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, and a steal on 6 of 10 from the field in his 13 minutes of play, and he wouldn't return. That said, Cavs would still end up leading at the half 59-57. They shot 53.8% from the field, including 40% from range. But I'll say this. In that first half, I was a little bit, I don't know if taken back is the right turn phrase for that, but I just couldn't help but feel that they needed more out of their bench, more out of the reserves in the scoring department, as the trio of Lonzo Ball, Craig Porter Jr., and Dean Wade would combine for like 6 points at the half. And yes, I do understand that Jalen Tyson's presence off the bench is missed, but they still have to find ways to get consistent scoring from the likes of CPJ and zone. Dean Wade just hit the open triple, and I think the points will come. Now, Craig and Lonzo, they surely made their presences felt in the second half of this game, but in that first half, it was kind of non-existent. Now, to cap off that first half, Milwaukee would score 20 points in the paint to Cleveland's 26. They got more second chance points, 8-2, and they won the fast break battle 10-7. And at that half, one of the things that was really ailing the Cavs was the turnovers, as they turned the ball over 9 times. Milwaukee did them one better with 10, but there was a lot of self-inflicted errors out there in the early going that contributed to them only holding a 2-point lead, even with Giannis exiting early. But Donovan Mitchell was there when you needed him to be, quieting things down, and that was kind of the story for this one early on. But the second half happens, and the Cavaliers just absolutely explode, and it was due to a couple of players in particular. Obviously, Donovan kept his big scoring night going because he scored 12 more points in the second half, but the second half was probably more so about the likes of Sam Merrill. Money Merrill was fucking cooking out there, flame throwing. 7 of 10 from the field, including 6 of 9 from 3-point distance, on his way to 20 points and 5 big rebounds, mind you. Sam was active on the glass. There were a couple that bounced out to him. There were a couple that he actually chased down, but that was a good thing to see out there. But Sam, man, this dude was absolutely cooking from the field in the second half. He would go 6 of 7, with all but one of those coming from outside the arc. Just cashing everything in sight out there, caught fire like we know that he is very capable of doing. And this is the game in which he really got back in the good graces, because the shooting percentages were starting to drop because the efficiency was going down, right? And we know that all shooters are streaky. It'll happen. You'll go through these hot streaks, some longer than others, and then you'll cool down. It happens. It happens to the best of them. It happens to Donovan, happens to Sam, happened to Jalen, right? It'll happen to everybody who plays basketball. But to be able to come back on a heater, that's a big deal, especially when you need it out of your reserves. And so Merrill was absolutely cooking in this second half of this game. We got to talk about Lonzo Ball. I have been consistently preaching about the gospel of Lonzo Ball, and people continue to tell me, oh, this guy's washed, this guy can't play anymore, this guy doesn't have it, he doesn't fit what we bring to the table. Listen, you better sit your ass down and rewatch this game, because there were a number of plays in this one where Lonzo Ball made things happen, right? There was a step back triple, there's a steal to close out the quarter, there was a pass that I already mentioned to Allen. There was just numerous things out there that this dude was doing to put his team in a position to lead this game, right? This is just a winning basketball player. So anytime you find yourself missing Ty Jerome, anytime you find yourself questioning whether or not the Cavaliers made the right decision, just quiet your mind and remember what your old friend Max said. Lonzo Ball is a winning player. This is a guy who elevates the ceiling. This is a guy, assuming he stays healthy, will be a playoff riser. He elevates the ceiling and the floor out there, assuming that he is healthy. And that's what I'm going to say, right? It's not always pretty. Hell, there are times where he has some maddeningly frustrating turnovers. It happens. But what he brings to the table in terms of the playmaking, in terms of the rebounding, in terms of the disruption on the defensive end, in terms of the off-ball shooting, because that's trending back upward, folks. Listen, this is a guy who is going to shut a lot of people up. hop on the Lonzo Ball train. I'm telling you, it's much, much better over here. It truly is. It is much, much better from where I'm sitting. And listen, I get it. Just 2 of 8 from the field tonight, 1 of 6 from distance. You're going to look at that. You're going to look at the stat sheet. You're going to look at the inefficiency and say, man, why is Mac continuing to ramble on? But the IQ is there. The impact is there. And it's evident. If you're a box score watcher, you're never going to fully appreciate what he brings to the table. It's not even, and it's not like it's Lonzo. It's not like it's Isaac Okoro level. Oh, he brings this hustle to the table, and it's harder to tell because you're not seeing as much in the stat sheet. Lonzo has had his games where he's impacted it at a high level, but he's also had the games where it's not evident in the stat sheet. But tonight, he would finish with 6 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and was plus 11 on the night. I mentioned, listen, there are going to be things, there are going to be nights where he doesn't knock down a lot of shots, but it's big when a player can go out there and not do that and still have a huge impact on the outcome of the game. And that was exactly what Lonzo did tonight. This man was just impactful as hell. You always had to question whether or not, and this is coming from a huge fan of Isaac, right? I'm still a big believer in Ice, but it's pretty clear. Lonzo is a guy that you don't have to question his impact out there. And in regards to Ty Jerome, listen, you just got to let him go. He ain't coming back. just hop aboard the Lonzo Ball hype train with me. I can guarantee you will feel much better. But man, this is just such a phenomenal performance in the second half. And listen, you can say all you want. You can sit up here and tell me that, yeah, well, the Cavaliers were struggling at points and Milwaukee was keeping in it without Giannis. And I will simply tell you this. For every run that Milwaukee seemed to go on, Cleveland had an answer. Whether that was Sam Merrill flamethrowing, whether that was Donovan Mitchell shutting it down, whether that was Lonzo hitting a step back triple, whether that was Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter being involved a little bit more. Listen, this was not the perfect Evan Mobley performance. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He was moving the ball out there, but he had 6 turnovers. That was really frustrating. I hated that. I think that there's an element there of maybe overthinking it a little bit. And I know that they've tried to force feed him these touches and asked him to self-create more. And listen, it is not always pretty. It is not always pretty. But I'll tell you what, I think that this is only going to help him as the year goes on, right? This is only going to help him as the season goes on, and Lonzo becoming more comfortable getting the ball to the bigs. I saw a number of plays tonight where he advanced the ball in the half court, right? I think there was one where he gets the ball from Sam Merrill, I believe, and instantly hits Evan in the post. And even when it doesn't result in anything, it's still nice to see that because the paint touches haven't always been as prevalent as they have been, like as they were tonight at times. And you like to see that. And I think Evan Mobley is still on the right track here. It isn't always pretty. Something else that I kind of took note of was Jarrett Allen. Jarrett, yet another game where he plays below 26 minutes a night where you just don't see him as much in the second half after a first half in which he scored 12 points, pulled down 6 rebounds, and was 4 of 7 from the field. Honestly, it seems to be, and I can't even sit here and claim that it's just like a matchup thing because this is felt more so like a trend as of late where he's just not in the he's not in the closing lineups. 2, he just doesn't play long stretches of fourth quarters. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And I know some of that might change once Darius Garland gets out there and he's able to get the ball to Allen a little bit more consistently, but I don't love that. I don't love that. I really do feel like Jarrett Allen is a much better player than the play time that he is getting. And I get it. It will be up and down as the team. They're stacked, at least from a talent perspective. But I'm noticing the trend, and I know you guys are too. It's just not something that is making me feel too good about the potential of Jarrett at the moment in terms of playtime because it seems to be trending in the wrong direction in regard to the fourth quarter. Entering tonight, Jarrett Allen is playing just 4.4 minutes per game in fourth quarters this season. That's a substantial drop this from this year and last year. Now, I'm trying to pull the statistics up between last year and this season, but I mean, it's just not great. I mean, he was playing 6.5 minutes per game in the fourth quarter last year. So basically half the fourth quarter in the 2024-25 season. During the 2023-24 season, Allen was playing roughly 7.6. So it's trended down every single season. And I think, yeah, there is an element to matchups as Giannis is not necessarily out there, right? He left early, but it's not just tonight. It's happened the last couple of games. And I think that with Evan Mobley not necessarily looking stellar as a center at the moment, and I know that some of that is the result of the lineups that he is playing with when you look at the advanced statistics. And by the way, Mobley has actually played more center this year than power forward and by a substantial margin. And I I think that reinforces the idea that he's not a full-time center, at least right now. I know a lot of people want to put him there, but I hate the fact that Allen is not playing as frequently, right? It feels like a career low, at least since he's been in Cleveland in terms of minutes per game in the fourth. And I already mentioned to you, right? It's trending downward. It's trending downward every single season over the last couple of seasons in terms of the minutes per game. 7.6 during the 2023-24 season. You were in the 6-minute range or so in the 2024-25 season, playing 6.5. And now entering tonight, what did I say? What, 4.4? Turn it down. Turn it down every single year. Not what you want to see. We'll see, though. We'll see how this ends up happening, how it ends up playing out. And they didn't necessarily need him. It was a game. It was a game. And I think that hopefully, as Darius comes back, the involvement will continue. I think the effort level, and there are things in terms like engagement during a game. You can tell sometimes when a guy is checking out a little bit, and maybe you might have to rein him back. Maybe you might have to pull him in place of somebody else who's providing more injury. But I don't know. I think he can bring more to the table, especially if Evan is struggling. But luckily, tonight wasn't a night where they absolutely needed him, and that's okay. That is okay in my book, especially when you got guys like Naquan Tomlin, who I continue to sit over here and hype up and praise. And I know that if you're a box score watcher, you see 2 points again in another game, 2 rebounds, an assist, a block in roughly 12 minutes and 11 seconds of action. And you might think I'm overdoing it. But listen, the last 4 games, this dude has done nothing but absolutely bring the energy out there. This is a player, in my opinion, that deserves to be in the back end of that rotation. I get it. It gets a little messy when you're talking about the rotation at full strength, as players like Naquan Tomlin are going to be on the outside looking in likely. But as of right now, he is taking advantage of every single opportunity that he has gotten. And I know that you guys love that as much as I have, because there is no off switch to this guy. This dude is he's absolutely playing at 110% every single occasion that he gets in there when he's playing extended minutes. And I get the efficiency is not always going to be where you want it to be from 3-point distance. I don't think he's hit a triple yet in these last 4 games, but his impact is still felt, especially in terms of the energy and hustle and effort out there on the defensive end and the glass. And he'll make a timely cut or 2 out there. He had one tonight when he scored the 2 points. Like, this guy runs transition like nobody else's business, right? He is a perfect player to play in those lineups alongside Lonzo, who loves to advance the ball. I think he's going to be awesome with Darius Garland out there, another player who loves to get out and run in transition. There's a lot of lineups where you know that Tyson's going to be another guy that factors into that, but Tomlin, rather, there are going to be a lot of lineups that you can put all of these guys together who love to run the floor and make something happen. on both ends. The transition offense is going to be good. The transition defense is going to be good. And I think that's really, really, really good for the future of this team when you know that they're eventually going to have to make some tough decisions in regard to who to keep and who to let go, who to move. But Dean, man, Dean is another guy out there in 27 minutes and 32 seconds of action was a game high plus 14, pulled down 8 huge rebounds, doled out 3 assists, blocked a shot, had 2 steals, and scored 5 points. Just to do it all, versatile guy. The block that he had was beautiful because he chased down. It was basically a chase down block, right? I mean, kinda. It was on Kyle Kuzma. It was beautiful. I know Lonzo was there for cleanup. But Dean, this was a type of performance that got you feeling like, yeah, this is why the Cavaliers love Dean Wade. This is why Kenny Atkinson trusts Dean Wade, even when Dean's shot is not necessarily falling. And I think that I think that at this point in time, Dean is a guy. And listen, if you haven't watched this podcast for any number of years, or if you have, I don't know, just know that I have a let's call it a complicated let's call it a complicated relationship with Dean Wade. If you've watched it for a number of years, you know that I still believe in Dean Wade. You know that I have talked ad nauseum about his impact on the defensive end as one of the most versatile wing defenders in basketball. But I also have tried to be a little bit more objective about his ability to impact the game on a night-to-night basis in terms of that three-point shot. And I see somebody down here in that chat that says you can't trust Dean. Dean is a guy who I think, despite the shot not falling, the Cavaliers want to have out there because impact defensively. And you see that pop up. Like there will be tangible, visible evidence of that in a game, 1 or 2 plays a game. Tonight you saw it against Kuzma. But the three-point shot and the overall efficiency from the field, it leaves a lot to be desired. So I understand why people are like, get him out of here. But on a $6.6 million contract, I mean, Dean is mostly doing what you're asking of. I mean, yeah, he's only shooting 31.3% from three-point distance entering tonight. But when you have at full strength, and this is going to be the key thing, when you're at full strength, you're not going to ask Dean to do much more offensively than to knock down the occasional open three-point shot. And as long as he can do that, and again, full transparency, Dean hasn't been efficient this year by any means. And he's always has these stretches where he's maddeningly frustrating in terms of the confidence and the hesitancy to pull the trigger. He's always had that. That has made it hard to go all in on the belief in Wade. But clearly his impact is felt, and that's why they've held on to him for as long as they have. So that's, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Dean is in the rotation for a reason. But as I mentioned earlier, Larry appears to be out. And I don't know if that'll change. I would assume that it would. I don't think they're going to completely sit Larry down. But I think that with what Tomlin has brought you, I think that what's brought to you in terms of the energy out there from Thomas Bryant, yeah, right now is probably the right time to keep Larry on the bench with the way that they are impacting the game. Something else that continues to ail the Cavaliers, and I feel like I talk about this shit every single stream, they shot poorly from the line tonight, 15-21. That is 71.4%. from the charity stripe. Evan Mobley, 5 of 8, another sub 65% game from from charity stripe. Donovan Mitchell missed 2, Lonzo Ball missed 1, and I mean, that's it. You just want to see them do better. Give me at least 77, 78% from the charity stripe, Cleveland. I know you are capable. I know you can do it. Just figure it out. And I get it. Like some of your best free throw shooters are not out there. I get Darius Garland, Max Strus, these guys who feel like they're automatic from the line. They're not playing, but that's no excuse. That is no excuse. Evan, you got to definitely get in the gym and just take like 1,000 until you knock down a considerable amount. Donovan, there are games where you got to be better in that regard. It's becoming too frequent, in my opinion, but we'll see. We will definitely see. Time to hop into the old chat, ladies and gentlemen. Everbloom says, "Go Cavs!" Yes, indeed, go Cavs. Djacked H1K says, "Craig Porter Jr. with the slam on Ryan Rollins, the highlight of the game." Yes, yes. Craig Porter Jr. How could I forget about Craig Porter Jr., who in the second half of this game was magnificent? I mean, just brought all the effort in the hustle out there. The slam on Ryan Rollins was a thing of beauty. I don't necessarily think that this team is going to be in a position to place Craig Porter Jr. out there on a nightly basis, because Lonzo is probably the guy who's going to get the bulk of those backup point guard minutes. But Craig is in such a rough spot. Like, he's in such a rough spot because he's good enough to be a rotation player. He is good enough to be a rotation guard. But when you got Darius, when you got Donovan, when you got Lonzo, it's just really hard to find him consistent minutes, especially with the emergence of Jalen Tyson. When you have Sam Merrill playing the way that he is, Max Strus is going to be back. It's going to be really hard to find him consistent minutes once the team is at full strength. But it's really good to know that you have that depth there. And I couldn't speak enough praise about CPJ and what he's been doing recently, because it's been phenomenal. Now, entering tonight, Craig, in terms of that 3-point shot, it's looked really good, at least in terms of the percentage. The volume hasn't been as high as you want it to be. I mean, I think my prediction on the season for Craig was that he would have knocked down, at least in that area, he would knock down at least one triple per game on a solid percentage. But entering tonight, he's trending in the right direction. He is literally knocking down 44.4% of his triples on 1.8 attempts. He is knocking down 0.8, so not that far off. He is playing about 17.3 minutes per game through these first 15. And I don't know what the future holds, but what I can tell you is that Craig is the real deal. He is legit. He is improved over this past offseason. Whatever they challenged him to, I feel like it must have sunk in, because he has given you consistently dependable performances. Now, it's not been perfect. I know that the decision-making sometimes can be a little bit worse for wear, but I legitimately have been impressed watching Craig Porter Jr. play basketball this season. Truly, still. And I can't say anything more about what he's been able to do. Banos Burner says, "Undefeated in the creamsicle, perhaps the most complete game of Cavalier ball." I don't know about most complete. It might be. I need to rack my brain and think about that. But this was such a fun performance, I'll tell you that. Philly Bandicoot says, "I didn't keep up with this game. Give me some stats, and I'd like to hear you talk more about the technical aspects of the game." Hopefully you heard me talk about some of that, right, already, some of the play calls out there. But this was definitely a game. If you like adjustments, I feel like it was a good one for you. But I'll say this, right? This was a performance that felt needed. And I know that it came in a game in which Giannis left early, but still, I'll take a W any way that I can get it, especially when you got Merrill starting to heat back up, when you got Lonzo making a huge impact out there, Dean doing much the same, CPJ, all that good stuff. Chazerica says, "Like button. Yeah, do me a favor. Do your boy a favor. Hit that like button. You don't know how much that helps in terms of the algorithms." HJ17 Gaming says, "This game was on FanDuel, thank God." Honestly, I like the Peacock broadcast. If you're talking about how the nature of having to have a million different subscriptions these days just to watch them, yeah, I completely understand how to feel that. Rap God Reloaded says Giannis is out of the MVP race. He also says Wemby is also in the MVP race. Nah, I mean Wemby. The thing about Wemby, and I don't think Wemby isn't even in the MVP race. I think he had Defensive Player of the Year on lock. But Wemby is always going to be a threat to miss the game's qualification, the 65 game requirement. Now we know that we got the news that he's going to miss some time. That sucks, and you hate for a player to miss time. And I'm not making jokes about that or anything like that. But what I will say is that it could potentially bode well for Evan Mobley to win another Defensive Player of the Year award. And I know it's too early to be talking about all that right now. But I think that Wemby is literally the type of player that will have that award on lock almost every single season that he is in the NBA, assuming he meets the requirements. So if you can snag a couple, hell, because Mobley already got one. If you can get one more, that's good. That's definitely good. RL8902 says Lonzo Ball is like a lubricant in attack and elite defender. If you look at the stats, you might think he is mid, but if you know basketball, you know how valuable he is. I agree. I think that when you look at the full scope of what this man brings to the table in terms of on-court impact, the basketball IQ, it's clear to see. It's not always going to show up the way you want it to from a statistical standpoint. He has never truly been the most efficient player out there from the field, but as long as he can knock down the open triples, as long as he can find the open man, play that defense that we know he's capable of, and he's attacking the glass, I mean, this is a dude that the Cavaliers are lucky to have. And I love it that. Mendo's Burner says, I fuck with Bryant so heavy. Yeah, I mean, Thomas Bryant has been a really, really good addition, especially for what you got him on, like veteran minimum. I mean, he's not a Tristan Thompson level big. This is a man that can absolutely contribute if called upon. The reality, though, is that he just plays in a pretty damn stacked front court at this point in time. So his minutes may fluctuate as time goes on. And when you have the emergences of players like Tomlin, and you still have Dean Wade on the roster, and you got Evan and Jarrett and other players capable of playing the four. And then, Larry is here. I'm not going to completely just say that Larry is done. I know a lot of people would like to say that, and a lot of people probably like me to say that. But 15 games into a season, I'm not going to sit up here and just tell you that that Larry Nance Jr. is done, like he's cooked or anything like that. That like works as lubricant basketball terms is crazy. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I see, I think, where this person, the comment that I read earlier, was going with the Lonzo stuff, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody refer to a player being a lubricant in basketball. But I understand the meaning, so I got you there. I'm not clowning you at all, but I think that I've never heard anybody use lubricant in a basketball context. It's just funny, man. It's a funny one. Talking to Grub and Media says, if Mobley got another depoy, fans and media would say he only got it because Wemby got hurt. Probably, but people were saying that last year. I mean, if we remember, Wemby had the award on lock last year, and then it became a two-man race between essentially Draymond Green, who talked his way into it. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. was involved there too. There was a couple other players. But let's keep it real. It was really boiling down to Draymond Green, who got on his podcast and started chirping away about how much he deserved and shit like that. And then Evan outplayed him down the line and got the award. And people, I know that people were probably mentioning that Mobley wasn't truly deserving of that award, and that Wemby, had he stayed healthy, would have gone to him. And honestly, I have no problem with people saying that. It doesn't, I mean, the resume speaks for itself. This is a player who has been a perennial Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. I mean, even if Wemby wins the next 4 in a row, we know that Evan is going to be in the top 5 in terms of the voting. Hell, maybe even top 3 every single season. He just happened to play in the same era as a Wemby. it's like playing in the same era as fucking LeBron or Michael Jordan, right? You know that the MVP is on lock by Mike, unless Mike takes his foot off the pedal or there's voter fatigue. And you know, LeBron, there was a lot of years where he could have won the MVP and didn't because the voters simply just did not want to give it to him. I mean, 2018, right? I think that's the one. That's a year in which what was it? James Harden. Was that the Harden year where Harden won the MVP over a just fucking phenomenal LeBron James season where he absolutely carried the Cavaliers in a season in which they were in flux? You needed a superhuman performance from LeBron to get this team to the finals. But I digress. I'm fine if Mobley gets another Defensive Player of the Year award and people don't believe he deserves it because it still doesn't count any less, in my opinion. HJ17 Gaming says LeBron should have 7 MVPs, to be honest. Ian7064 says Jokic should have like 5 straight MVPs if it wasn't for voter fatigue. I agree, right? There are a lot of players, even Giannis. If you look at what Giannis has done, especially from a statistical standpoint, I think that like there are like a number of players that he should have the award over. But I mean, at a certain point, voters just get tired of giving the same award to the same guy every single season. Talking to Grove Media says, you're right, Mac. That's how it always goes for Cleveland. If Cleveland players are injured or other teams benefit is okay. But when Cleveland teams do it, it's a travesty, i.e. 2016. Yeah. HJ17 says, should have won over Rose, Harden, and Giannis. Agreed. Pista says, Kobe, the charity MVP. I can't bring myself to do it. I can't do it. Rest in peace, Kobe. I'll just say this. I think that when you're talking about how deserving a player is, it can always get a little dicey because you can make a real case for a lot of different players every single season. Sometimes it's a little more clear cut than others, but I'm not going to shit on anybody who got MVP during their time in the league. And the same thing goes for the Defensive Player of the Award, unless you're Marcus Gasol, right? Was it Gasol? I can't remember. Was it Marcus Gasol who got the Defensive Player of the Year award over LeBron? Was that year? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. I think it was in 2013 season. I think Gasol got it when LeBron should have got the Defensive Player of the Year award that season. Some shit like that. Maybe my memory isn't serving me correctly. Maybe you guys could let me know in the comments, but I could have sworn that was the season. Either way, we're spiraling here. HJ says Gasol won DPOY, but wasn't on the first team. I knew it. I knew my memory wasn't failing me. Nate 406 says Jarrett Allen catching Pokemon on the bench while the Cavs win the game. Listen, Nate, I applaud your dedication because it seems like the only actual contributions to the chat that you make have to do with Jarrett Allen. I don't know what your obsession with Jarrett Allen is, but I applaud your dedication to the Jarrett Allen slander. I think that obviously he's a better player. He's a better player than you think he is. HJ says, don't disrespect nerds, Nate. Listen, I'm a nerd. You don't see all this shit back here? Iron Man, you see all this Marvel shit I got back here? I love video games. I love Pokemon. If you don't love Pokemon, get the fuck out of here. That's all I'm going to say. All I know is that Pokemon is a big part of, not even just nerd, the everyday things, right, in terms of nerd culture. But I'll tell you what, Jarrett Allen, I think that he's a much more impactful player than people give him credit for. Truly is. Floyd Phillips second says, do you believe Jarrett Allen is offended by fourth quarter benching? No. What I would think is that if we're being honest, if we're being 100% honest, if it was me, I would be pissed because I feel like I can contribute more than you're allowing me to. But I also would understand, like, hey, I'm for the team winning. I'm about team success. And I think that there are a lot of players that feel this way, right? They know, and I've talked to players that have echoed the same thing. They feel like they could contribute more, but aren't being allowed the option to because they're not being put on the court, right? And so I think that as a player, as a competitor, yeah, why wouldn't that upset you? But at the same time, if you have a greater goal in mind in terms of the team and having a team first mentality, why would you be upset enough to make a huge deal about it? Yeah, these guys, they made it to the NBA for a reason. Jarrett Allen didn't just make it to the NBA because he's tall. He's exceptionally talented at his role. But sometimes that role isn't always going to be what you want it to be when you get to a certain point. That's really what it boils down to. If Lifesport says stat on the Cavs post game just showed during Sam's putty interview that he is on the list for most games with 4+ 3-point makes. Where's Don? Where Don is at top with 8. We have 2 Cavs, only team to have 2. Listen, Sam has been brilliant this season. Don has also been pretty damn awesome. And in terms of the 3-point shot, they both started to cool down, but they started to rise back up. And that happened again tonight, which was beautiful to see, truly. Philly Bandicoot says, appreciate reading my chat, fam. Keeping up the good work. I try and check in after every game. Much love from Louisville. What's up, man? I appreciate you dropping by and conversing in the chat. I know it's not always the funnest thing, especially after a loss, but I truly do appreciate everybody that's in the chat, even people who piss me off. I'm not above calling people out, but I'm not also above accepting the criticism that's thrown my way at times too. The Mighty Hardy says, my question is, in Donovan Mitchell's body going to give out midway or towards the end of the season if he has to carry every game like he has? I don't know if I should worry or just wait till we are healthy. I think that's a valid question, a valid concern, because I'm back. Hopefully you guys can hear me. My stream just dropped midstream. I think it was I am pretty damn sure it was my Google Chrome screaming at me to to update. And IT and tech, I should know that. But listen, sometimes you got just too much going on in the day. So all I'm gonna say is this before I let you guys go. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for continuously conversing in wins and losses. Floyd Phillips says, pay the light bill. Gamble the Camel says, camera is off, bro. Bandos Burner says, back your shit cut out. Listen, it's been a rough month. But we still here. Chaz Erica says, RIP's night Hawk go Caps. The Mighty Hardy says, oh man. Bando says, real one's finna wait it out. Yeah, I think, oh Lord. What says Nance sabotage the street? Hey man, Larry Nance Jr. is my guy. He would never. Gamble says the greatest podcast ever is broken. I think that's probably a good place to stop it at before I have any more technical errors. I think that there are things that this team needs to improve upon, obviously, but I'm also, as long as you can improve upon some of the habits, some of the habitual things, I think you're gonna be okay. That to me has been one of the big talking points and takeaways from the early stretch of the season. It's not just about the evaluation and the experimentation. It's not just about simply trying to see what lineups work and which ones don't work. It's truly about understanding where you are as a unit and trying to hone some of these habits that lead to playoff success. And I know that that is not always going to be pretty. I understand that you're not always going to be able to win some of these games if you're not putting yourself in the best positions possible to do so. But as long as the effort is there, as long as the energy is there, I'm not going to complain because, as we all know, people have routinely shit on the regular season. People always say the regular season doesn't matter, but I'm going to be here continue to say that this shit still matters. It still matters for so many reasons. For development of the young players like Craig Porter Jr., like Jalen Tyson, like Naquan Tomlin, and on, Tyrese Proctor. There's a lot of names. This is absolutely critical to the development of these young players. It's absolutely critical to the rhythm in establishing certain lineup patterns. It's just very important stuff. And obviously, you have to win enough regular season games to get to the playoffs in general. But I digress. As I always say, guys, if you'd like to reach out, you know I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the show in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Hell, you can do it on YouTube too if you want. But even if you don't, I will still be here creating the content because I love this team. And I know y'all do too. Go Cavs.